Whatever you are picturing in your head when you hear Lord of the Rings anime, forget it, because War of the Rohirrim is nowhere near as good as whatever you are picturing. I was very excited for this one when it was first announced, but now I'm just mad. Let's tear through this plot, shall we? We are quickly introduced to all of the major characters, that being the King of Rohan, Helm Hammerhand, his daughter Hera, his two sons, and his lords, who have been summoned to a council by one lord named Freka. Freka accuses the king of having promised his daughter to someone of Gondor, and demands that she marry someone of Rohan. And what do you know? Freka's son Wolf is right here, and sure enough, he asks Hera to be his wife. Helm Hammerhand dismisses the whole charade and demands Freka meet him outside to deal with each other. AKA, they're gonna fight it out because Freka wants to be king, and Helm Hammerhand wants to defend his honor. Freka immediately starts talking trash about the king and punches him a few times, and Helm takes one punch and knocks him out. His son Wolf goes to his father and finds him dead. Wolf vows to kill the king, and Helm Hammerhand banishes him. I'm sure nothing bad will come from letting him live. So anyway, Wolf is now building an army to kill Helm Hammerhand and his two sons, in order to rule as king. Hera gets kidnapped by Wolf's men, but she is rescued by her shield maiden and her cousin. Now the king knows Wolf is attacking, so naturally they prepare for battle. The king's cousin advises them to retreat to their greatest strongholds. But the king has different plans. He sends his cousin away because he's a coward and decides it best to fight outside Edoras, instead of battling from a fortified position. And wouldn't you know it, everything goes wrong. One of Helm's lords has betrayed him and didn't show up to fight alongside him. But Helm Hammerhand still thinks he's got it covered and charges on horseback straight into a volley of arrows. But oh no, it was a distraction. The main attack is heading straight toward Edoras, which is completely defenseless now. Idiots! Why did you leave? There's no need to worry though. A fat kid and Hera found out about the betrayal and evacuated the city beforehand. The rest of the battle is just non-stop stupidity. Somehow the only people left fighting in the entire city is the royal family, and not a single soldier is there to help them. The king's oldest son dies and Helm himself gets shot with 5 arrows, and then they retreat. And while retreating, the king's second son gets captured by Wolf and his general. The Rohirrim arrive safely at Helm's Deep, and oh no, Wolf and his general arrive there too. Wolf executes Helm's remaining son in front of the king against his general's advice. And now that winter is coming, Wolf's army will need to leave. But nope, Wolf, again, against his general's advice, decides to camp outside the fortress and build the most retarded siege weapon of all time. The winter takes its toll on Wolf's army, and if the winter wasn't enough, Helm Hammerhand decides to sneak outside the fortress at night and kill soldiers one by one, leaving Wolf's army terrified. And to add to the excitement, 2 orcs and a troll are eating the bodies of the soldiers, freaking everyone out. Unfortunately, Hera follows Helm outside one night, and the entrance to the tunnel gets covered up. Now, Helm and Hera make a mad dash for the doors of Helm's Deep. They reach the doors, but only Hera goes inside. Helm Hammerhand decides, I think I'll die now, and so he fights all night soldiers outside and freezes to death. No one saves him. He freezes to death. Now, Rohan has no king. Not to worry, Hera climbs a mountain and talks to one of the great eagles and gets it to deliver the king's armor to her cousin, hoping he will come and rescue them. The big battle finally happens. The siege tower miraculously works and would let Wolf's army into Helm's Deep, but Hera runs out of the keep and challenges Wolf to a duel. And if you are all dying to know what she's wearing to this fight, it's a wedding dress. Why is she wearing a wedding dress? Well, she says she is now pledged to death. And that line really resonated with me, because that's what it felt like watching this movie. Big shocker, she wins, her cousin arrives and saves the day, and now he is crowned King of Rohan. This film's plot is pitiful. Way too many conveniences and absolute nonsense decisions. People don't protect their king, no one knows how to defend a city, and the writers don't have a clue how archery works. This film's overall nonsense of a plot is getting a 3 out of 10. Now, onto the characters. This film decided to not make Helm Hammerhand the main protagonist. Instead, his daughter, Hera, is the one we follow. This decision baffles my mind. Let's talk about Hera. She, along with almost every other character, ends the movie the same way they started. She has her childhood friend propose to her, and then he goes crazy, kills her entire family, and it does nothing to her. She doesn't need to overcome any challenges or mistakes that she made. She gets kidnapped and various peril falls upon her, but through it all, she doesn't change. I can occasionally be accepting of static characters, but even with static characters, I want to see how they react to different situations. But Hera doesn't react in meaningful ways. She simply continues on the same way as if nothing significant had happened to her. Wolf is a clown of a character. He starts off strong, his father getting killed by the king sets up for a revenge arc very nicely. But then he goes off the rails, and he eventually gets what he wants. Even though he makes ridiculous decisions like camping in front of Helm's Deep for months, lying to his men, making a ridiculous siege tower, and killing his general, he still succeeds in ending the line of Helm Hammerhand, and becoming king of Rohan doesn't satisfy him for some reason. He's a clown for the second half of the film, finally getting defeated by Hera in a sword fight in front of all of his men. Helm Hammerhand is one of the best parts of the movie. I know that's like saying the burger that gave me food poisoning tasted good, but whatever. His fight scenes were fun to watch, and he had a really intimidating presence. Some of his scenes were very interesting. The way he talks to his daughter about wanting her to get married really made me happy, but then he makes ridiculous decisions on the battlefield. But hey, at least he's an imposing force and follows through on his decisions. The story is all about him. He should have been the main character. Both of his sons die and the crown is taken away from him, and the only scenes we get with him after the fact is the ones of him fighting right before he dies. I wanted to see what happened to him. I wanted to see him desperately try to slowly kill an opposing army by himself one night at a time. But nope, he decided to die outside the gates of Helm's Deep. I feel robbed. This was his story and I wanted to see it. The only character who was consistently good through the whole film was the cousin of Hera. And nope, I don't even know his name because that's how little he was in the film. Every other character was garbage. The film will receive another 3 out of 10 for its characters. Finally, we'll address the animation. Simply put, it's not good. There are aspects of it I enjoy, such as the designs for almost every character, along with the armor and weaponry, but the movements are way too much. People are moving when they shouldn't be. The camera is moving when it shouldn't be. I feel like if you took a still image from the film at random, you would have a pretty good chance of having a great picture. But as soon as you push play and watch the film's movements, the quality tanks. There are still exceptions, such as most of Helm Hammerhand's fights. They seem to hold the focus on him longer in battle, letting the audience understand what was actually happening for once. And personally, I liked both the Olifants and the Eagles, but overall the animation was sloppy. It is getting a 3 out of 10 for me. And that brings the total score of the film to a staggering 3 out of 10. There is much more I could and have said about this film over on the Save the Script.
I was at least expecting it to maybe look really cool.
Yeah.
And it just didn't. It really didn't.
This movie could be so much shorter.
My least favorite character is every archer in this movie. Because every single one of them sucks.
You're right.
My friends and I had a very frustrating and funny time watching this movie, and if you would like to hear more, a link to that video will be in the description. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see all of you subscribers later.
You can choose how this ends.
Oh, boy, that is a good point.
I sound like
Old man.
a really buff.
Old man.
Well, Toph, what you hear up there is the truth.
I disagree strongly.